I too, like most men, if not all, have fallen into the trap of porn use in at times in my life. It is a trap, especially when you're young. You don't realize what you're doing. It doesn't seem harmful, but you never meet anyone who's proud of it. There are comedians who make jokes about it, but no one is ever proud of it. It has a somewhat inherent shame associated with it. Watching other people have sex, do sexual things, I believe has an inherent shame associated with it that's very core to who we are as human beings. But more than that, it is pointless. And once you realize this, the porn use can be eliminated. It has worked for me. The elimination process is not easy, but it can be done, and I'll give you some tips at the end of the video. When we take a drug, it at least it gives us something. Drugs will always take away more than they give. Always. No matter what the drug. Anything artificial, hyperstimulating will take more from the human body and mind than it gives. It is an illusion to think that a drug actually does anything for you. In the case of porn, there isn't even a momentary illusion of enhancement, such as caffeine. There are drugs that make us more creative in the moment, productive, etc. They all ultimately take away more from the body than they give. But I can say there are benefits to them in terms of you can see things you couldn't see before. Any drug used frequently though, will take more than it gives. Whatever momentary benefit you gain from taking a drug will take more from the body and mind than it gives you, although some of the insights will last. So there's the benefit. If we do it frequently, though, the insights are gone and it's an addiction. If we do it sparingly, less than once a month, not even that, once every few months, 6 months, once a year, at higher doses, these drugs can give us insights into our life. Maybe if we take caffeine once a month at a moderate dose, we'll see some kind of benefit, a creative benefit, a productivity benefit. Any more than that, it drains us of our life, and it holds back who we are, like most drugs do when taken frequently. Porn doesn't even give us any momentary benefit. There is no benefit in it at all. There is no positive influence on the body and mind. It just takes. Once you're exposed to this hyperstimulus, the body cannot handle it. The body doesn't know what to do with it. So then a hyper urge is created in the dopaminergic system. You will then get an urge to do it again and again and again. Like most drugs, it becomes an addiction. Like most drugs, except this addiction doesn't even have an initial kick. There's no initial high. It's just nothing. It is just pointless. This is why I call it drug-like, because in many ways it's worse. The more addictions cloud our mind, the less energy we have for anything creative or productive. The more we need to do this thing to satisfy the urge, the more life force it takes from us, the more mental real estate it takes from us. The more we are addicted, the more we have to apply energy to this thing, thinking about it, having urges to deal with it, dealing with the urges for it, and doing the action. This alone suggests we should never even start, because there is no end. The end is death. The end is all your life force gone, your life destroyed. You have no relationships, friends, family, social skills, anything. And this seems like an exaggeration. But for those who use porn at all, on a long enough time frame, I believe this is the ultimate end. People cannot moderate it to any level. And I don't believe with this drug like hyperstimulus that there is such thing. Because there's no rational reason that you would want to do that. Except to feed the urge. Except to satisfy this urge that is created by doing it in the first place. The very definition of insanity. You get nothing from moderating porn use once a month, once every 6 months, once a year. Maybe you're proud that you only do it that much. If you did, say, a drug, mushrooms for example, once a year at high doses, you would gain something potentially permanent from that. Although it would take away a fair amount of physical resources for a period of time temporarily after you use it, there would be some notable psychological benefits to doing this at higher doses. Start doing them every day, they're gone. You gain nothing. Have a massive porn binge for once a year, you gain nothing. You create a strong urge to do that again. Maybe you do it again the next week, month, or year, but it's there taking up your life, draining you of life. Any hyperstimulus is just not worth it. Drugs, refined or artificial foods, even artificial sweeteners, I believe there are lots of issues with. I would argue movies, TV series, certain activities, but the worst of them is porn. The body doesn't know how to handle it. So you create this artificial urge that's very, very strong, very difficult to overcome. So once the urge is created, and once you decide to stop, I do believe in the NoFap movement in terms of avoiding all forms of sexual stimulus for at least 30 days. 90 days is optimum. I don't know why, but this does work. It makes sense. You don't drink light beer if you're trying to quit drinking alcohol. You don't just drink once a week or once a month or quit for a month if you're trying to quit drinking. You abstain forever. So I'm not saying to abstain from sexual activities forever, but there needs to be a point, there needs to be a decision that you are going to abstain totally for a month to a few months, on top of the decision to never use or view porn again. During this time, it will be difficult because you will have the urges, and these are very animalistic sexual urges artificially created and enhanced by porn that you're going to be dealing with. So to deal with them, it's the same way that I suggest to deal with any urge, is to create distance between who you really are and the urge. This has been explored deeply by a few books. The Brain Over Binge book by Catherine Hansen, I think her name was. There's a book by, it's called The Little Book of Addiction, I think, by Jack Trimpsey. They talk about urges and how to deal with them. My take on it, though, is to create space. You feel this urge coming up, it starts to take over your mind. You have images of using pornography, thoughts about it, feelings, urges to do it. So create space around it. Use mindfulness. Just watch it. You sit back as the loving awareness, watching this rise and fall, watching the pictures rise and fall, watching the feelings rise and fall. And then you do something else. Go outside. During this time, it's best to be out of your home as much as possible and with people. Don't be alone. Go to the office if you work in an office every day. If that's not possible for you, then go work in a cafe with your laptop, whatever you need to do. But ultimately, if you learn how to deal with these urges, it will change your life. Because anytime you use an artificial hyperstimulus, you will get them. And they last about 30 days. After about 30 days, you may get some, very rarely. It's very easy to deal with them after that. But you just have to make it to the 30 days. After about 3 months, they're gone for good. You won't get them again. I was a very heavy alcoholic. And I just stopped drinking for good. It's been 15, 16 years now. And I haven't had a single urge. Actually, there was once when I had, years after I smoked marijuana, and I got really strong urges to drink. No idea where that came from. You can get urges from other drugs to do other drugs. It's complicated. But except for then, after the first few months were gone, I never got a single urge again. It will be the same for porn. Just have to get through that first 30 days. Thanks, guys.